The pictures Alfred Lord Tennyson. This morning is the morning of the day, when I and Eustace from the city went to see the gardener's daughter. I and he, brothers in art. A friendship so complete portioned in halves between us, that we grew the fable of the city where we dwelt. My Eustace might have sat for Hercules. So muscular he spread, so broad of breast. He, by some law that holds in love, and draws the greater to the lesser, long desired a certain miracle of symmetry, a miniature of loveliness, all grace summed up and closed in little. Juliet, she so light of foot, so light of spirit, oh, she to me myself, for some 3 careless moons, the summer pilot of an empty heart unto the shores of nothing. Know you not such touches are but embassies of love, to tamper with the feelings, ere he found empire for life? But Eustace painted her, and said to me, she's sitting with us then, when will you paint like this? And I replied, my words were half in earnest, half in jest, 'tis not your work, but love's. Love, unperceived, a more ideal artist he than all, came, drew your pencil from you, made those eyes darker than darkest pansies, and that hair more black than a spud's in the front of March. And Juliet answered laughing, go and see the gardener's daughter, trust me, after that, you scarce can fail to match his masterpiece. And up we rose, and on the spur we went. Not wholly in the busy world, nor quite beyond it, blooms the garden that I love. News from the humming city comes to it in sound of funeral or of marriage bells. And, sitting muffled in dark leaves, you hear the windy clanging of the minster clock. Although between it and the garden lies a league of grass, washed by a slow broad stream, that, sturdy with languid pulses of the oar, waves all its lazy lilies, and creeps on, barge-laden, to 3 arches of a bridge crowned with the minster towers. The fields between are dewy fresh, browsed by deep udder kin, and all about the large lime feathers low, the lime is summer home of murmurous wings. In that still place she, hoarded in herself, grew, seldom seen. Not less among us lived her fame from lip to lip. Who had not heard of Rose, the gardener's daughter? Where was he, so blunt in memory, so old at heart, at such a distance from his youth in grief, that, having seen, forgot? The common mouth, so gross to express delight, in praise of her grew oratory. Such a lord is love, and beauty such a mistress of the world. And if I said that fancy, led by love, would play with flying forms and images, yet this is also true, that, long before I looked upon her, when I heard her name my heart was like a prophet to my heart, and told me I should love. A crowd of hopes, that sought to sow themselves like winged seeds, born out of everything I heard and saw, fluttered about my senses and my soul. And vague desires, like fitful blasts of balm to one that travels quickly, made the air of life delicious, and all kinds of thought, that verged upon them, sweeter than the dream dreamed by a happy man, when the dark east, unseen, is brightening to his bridal morn. And sure this orbit of the memory folds forever in itself the day we went to see her. All the land and flowery squares, beneath a broad and equal blowing wind, smelt of the coming summer, as one large cloud drew downward, but all else of heaven was pure up to the sun, and May from verge to verge, and May with me from head to heel. And now, as though 'twere yesterday, as though it were the hour just flown, that morn with all its sound, for those old Mays had thrice the life of these, rings in mine ears. The steer forgot to graze, and, where the hedgerow cuts the pathway, stood, leaning his horns into the neighbor field, and lowing to his fellows. Froth the woods came voices of the well-contented doves. The lark could scarce get out his notes for joy, but shook his song together as he neared his happy home, the ground. To left and right, the cuckoo told his name to all the hills. The mellow ousel fluted in the elm. The redcap whistled, and the nightingale sang loud, as though he were the bird of day. And Eustace turned and smiling said to me, hear how the bushes echo. By my life, these birds have joyful thoughts. Think you they sing like poets, from the vanity of song? Or have they any sense of why they sing? And would they praise the heavens for what they have? And I made answer, were there nothing else for which to praise the heavens but only love, that only love were cause enough for praise. Lightly he laughed as one that read my thought, and on we went. But ere an hour had passed we reached a meadow slanting to the north, down which a well-worn pathway courted us to one green wicket in a privet hedge. This, yielding, gave into a grassy walk through crowded lilac ambush trimly pruned, and one warm gust, full fed with perfume, blew beyond us, as we entered in the cool. The garden stretches southward. In the midst a cedar spread his dark green layers of shade. The garden glasses glanced, and momently the twinkling laurel scattered silver lights. "Eustace," I said, "this wonder keeps the house." He nodded, but a moment afterwards he cried, "Look! Look!" Before he ceased I turned and, ere stark and wink, beheld her there. For up the porch there grew an eastern rose, that, flowering high, the last night's gale had caught, and blown across the walk. One arm aloft gowned in pure white, that fitted to the shape holding the bush, to fix it back, she stood, a single stream of all her soft brown hair poured on one side, the shadow of the flowers stole all the golden gloss, and, wavering lovingly lower, trembled on her waist. Ah, happy shade, and still went wavering down, but, ere it touched a foot, that might have danced the greensward into greener circles, dipped, and mixed with shadows of the common ground. But the full day dwelt on her brows, and sunned her violet eyes, and on her he bloom, and doubled his own warmth against her lips, and on the bounteous wave of such a breast as never pencil drew. Half light, half shade, she stood, a sight to make an old man young. So rapt, we neared the house. But she, a rose in roses, mingled with her fragrant toil, nor heard us come, nor from her tendance turned into the world without. Till close at hand, and almost ere I knew mine own intent, this murmur broke the stillness of that air which brooded round about her. Ah, one rose, but one, by those fair fingers cold were worth 100 kisses pressed on lips less exquisite than thine. She looked but all suffused with blushes, neither self-possessed nor startled, but betwixt this mood and that, divided in a graceful quiet paused, and dropped the branch she held, and turning, wound her loose her hair and braid, and stirred her lips for some sweet answer, though no answer came, nor yet refused the rose, but granted it, and moved away, and left me, statue-like, in act to render thanks. I, that whole day, saw her no more, although I lingered there till every daisy slept, and love's white star beamed through the thickened cedar in the dusk. So home we went, and all the livelong way with solemn jibe did Eustace banter me. "Now," said he, "will you climb the top of art? You cannot fail but work in hues to dim the Titianic flora. Will ye match my Juliet? You, not you, the master, love, a more ideal artist than all." So home I went, but could not sleep for joy, reading her perfect features in the gloom, kissing the rose she gave me o'er and o'er, and shaping faithful record of the glance that graced the giving. Such a noise of life swarmed in the golden present, such a voice called to me from the years to come, and such a length of bright horizon rimmed the dark. And all that night I heard the watchman peal the sliding season, all that night I heard the heavy clock snulling the drowsy hours. The drowsy hours, dispensers of all good, o'er the mute city stole with folded wings, distilling odd hours on me as they went to greet their fairer sisters of the East. Love at first sight, firstborn, and heir to all, made this night thus. Henceforward squall nor storm could keep me from that Eden where she dwelt. Light pretexts rue me. Sometimes a Dutch love for tulips, then for roses, moss or musk, to grace my city rooms, or fruits and cream served in the weeping elm. And more a word could bring the color to my cheek. A thought would fill my eyes with happy dew. Love trebled life within me, and with each the year increased. The daughters of the year, one after one, through that still garden passed each garlanded with her peculiar flower danced into light, and died into the shade. And each in passing touched with some new grace or seemed to touch her, so that day by day, like one that never can be wholly known, her beauty grew. Till autumn brought an hour for Eustace, when I heard his deep I will, breathed, like the covenant of a god, to hold from thence through all the worlds. But I rose up full of his bliss, and following her dark eyes felt earth as air beneath me, till I reached the wicket gate, and found her standing there. there sat we down upon a garden mound, two mutually enfolded. Love, the third, between us, in the circle of his arms enwound us both. And over many a range of waning line the great cathedral towers, across a hazy glimmer of the west, revealed their shining windows, from them clashed the bells. We listened with the time we played we spoke of other things. We coursed about the subject most at heart, more near, like doves about a dovecot, wheeling round the central wish, until we settled there. Then, in that time and place, I spoke to her, requiring, though I knew it was mine own, yet for the pleasure that I took to hear, requiring at her hand the greatest gift, a woman's heart, the heart of her I loved. And in that time and place she answered me, and in the compass of 3 little words, more musical than ever came in one, the silver fragments of a broken voice, made me most happy, faltering, I am thine. Shall I cease here? Is this enough to say that my desire, like all strongest hopes, by its own energy fulfilled itself, merged in completion? Would you learn at full how passion rose through circumstantial grades beyond all grades developed And indeed I had not stayed so long to tell you all, but while I mused came memory with sad eyes, holding the folded idols of my youth. And while I nursed, love with neat brows went by, and with a flying finger swept my lips, and spake, be wise, not easily forgiven are those, who setting wide the doors that bar the secret bridal chambers of the heart, let in the day. Here, then, my words have end. Yet might I tell of meetings, of farewells of that which came between, more sweet than each, in whispers, like the whispers of the leaves that tremble round a nightingale in sighs which perfect joy, perplexed for utterance, stole from her sister sorrow. Might I not tell of difference, reconcilement, pledges given, and vows, where there was never need of vows, and kisses, where the heart on one wildly penetrates from all pulsation, as above the heavens between their fair fleeces pale Saudi all their mystic gulfs with fleeting stars? Or while the balmy glooming, crescent lit, spread the light haze along the river shores, and in the hollows? Or as once we met unheedful, though beneath a whispering rain night slid down one long stream of sighing wind, and in her bosom bore the baby, sleep. But this whole hour your eyes have been intent on that veiled picture veiled for what it holds may not be dwelled on by the common day. This prelude has prepared thee. Raise thy soul. Make thine heart ready with thine eyes, the time is come to raise the veil. Behold her there, as I beheld her ere she knew my heart, my first, last love, the idol of my youth, the darling of my manhood, and, alas, now the most blessed memory of mine age.